Hi, this is Lisa, and you are listening to I Love That Movie. This podcast is for movie lovers. It's not an unbiased opinion, it's not a straightforward review, it's just a couple people talking about a movie that they love. The format is each week I have a guest, and that guest and I discuss a movie that they love, something they're obsessed with, something they connect with. We'll talk about the plot, the director, and the actors, but we'll also talk about the personal connection my guest has with that movie. So if that sounds like something you want to listen to, keep listening. Hi, this is Lisa, and if you want to catch up with me on Twitter, you can find me at ILTM Podcast. I'm also on Instagram at I Love That Movie Podcast and Patreon. The show is always free, but if you sign up, you do get a weekly bonus episode of everything else I'm watching that week. And I do want to take a moment to give a shout out to my top patrons, and they are Philip Barker, Michael Cross, and Josh Johnson. Thanks so much for keeping the light on. If you like what you hear today, please subscribe and rate the show. It does help new listeners find us. I want to welcome back a returning voice on the podcast, Robbie. Say hi, Robbie.
Hello, Lisa. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Robbie. If people haven't heard you on some of my previous episodes, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes, so I run the Fleming Film Awards group on Facebook. If you want to join the group, Lisa is also a member. You can just type in the Fleming Film Awards, and if you see the group, join, and we'll happily accept. I run the Fleming Awards. I also do a horror-based one called the Halloween Pumpkins, which the film we're talking about has won a lot of. And I'm currently doing the animated film awards currently, and I also do a podcast with Justin Doyle about Fleming Film Talk, and recently I've been doing another series focused around the Fleming Awards with Cody, where we dive into different movies that have won my Fleming Awards.
Wow, you stay busy.
Thank
That's
you.
great. Yeah. Well, my guest always picks the movie, and I want to tell our audience we originally were going to do this around Halloween, but then Robbie wasn't feeling well, and then the following week I wasn't feeling well. So this has been delayed, but we still want to stick with the spooky theme a little bit. So Robbie, what movie did you choose to talk about today?
Today I chose to talk about the 2008 Swedish romantic horror film Let the Right One In, directed by Thomas Alfredson, based on the novel of the same name from 2004 by John Avi Lindquist, I believe. Sorry if I butchered his name.
That's great. I really like this movie a lot. I remember when it came out, and greatly enjoying it. What is your experience with this movie? Like, did you see it in theaters, or how did you come across this film?
I was looking at different horror films from the 2000s
Hmm.
last year that I've never seen, and this one popped up as one of the best horror films. And when I watched it, I just remember being amazed by it. Plus, it helped because I liked the cinematographer, Hoyt van Hoytema, who went on to shoot the Christopher Nolan movies.
Wow, I didn't
So,
realize that.
so he was one of the reasons why I wanted to watch this film.
Very cool. Very cool. Have you ever read the book?
I'm not much of a book reader, so
Hmm.
no, but I have seen the Americanized version from 2010.
Yeah, I saw that one too. I preferred the original, and when you when you said we're going to cover it, I was like, which one? And you were like, definitely the 2008 one.
Yeah.
For those listening, we will talk some spoilers. So I think if you want to see this movie first, I noticed that if you're in America, it's on Tubi right now. So you could probably watch it for free if you have a Tubi account. But I'm going to go ahead and read the synopsis, and then we'll go ahead and dive in.
Go for
When
it.
Great. When Oscar, a sensitive, bully 12-year-old boy living with his mother in suburban Sweden, meets his new neighbor, the mysterious and moody Ellie. They strike up a friendship. Initially reserved with each other, Oscar and Ellie slowly form a close bond, but it becomes apparent that she is no ordinary girl. Eventually, Ellie shares her dark, macabre secret with Oscar, revealing her connection to a string of bloody local murders.
Yes, that's
That's
basically the plot.
Yep. I usually have some quick facts that I share. You probably have more than me, Robbie. The only one that I saw that I found interesting was that at around 1 hour and 19 minutes is when the word vampire is said only once in the entire film. And I guess that's a spoiler right there, right? This is about a vampire.
Yes, yes, yes. This is a vampire movie. I recently did my top 5 favorite vampire movies with Justin on our podcast, and this ranked number 2.
Oh, really? Can I hear the top 5? Or do I need to listen to the episode first?
I'll say listen to the episode first.
That's fair. But 2 is pretty high. So, what about this movie draws you in so much? What do you like about it?
I always tend to like coming of age stories because I kind of like, seeing the experience of a child from a film point of view.
Mhm,
And this is one of the more fantasy ones that I like.
mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like for me, the boy character, I feel like I can kind of identify with a little bit. He's, kind of shy and sensitive, and he's getting picked on at school, and then he meets this mysterious friend that he starts to kind of like fall in love with, and it's very, innocent. But over time, there's a darker twist to it, which is kind of exciting.
Yes. Yes. And this I also like how it explores the lore of vampires, like they
Yes.
really dive in on like the details of real vampires properly.
I agree. Like there's a lot of the familiar rules that we know, like being invited in and things like that. And yeah, I just think it's really interesting. Normally at this part of the show, I would dive into more about the actors and more about the director, but I'll admit I don't know a lot about the creative team behind this film. Do you? I know you mentioned who the cinematographer is. Have you seen any of this director's other work?
I have actually, yes.
Oh,
He
really?
he,
Okay.
he also made a film called Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy with Gary Oldman.
Oh, I've seen that too. That was really good.
It's
I
very
really
good.
liked it. Yeah.
I
It's
prefer this
serious and
film
it's kind of slow. Mhm.
out of his filmography, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I really like that movie. I don't think I realized that that was him. Very cool.
Yeah.
So what are some of your favorite scenes from this movie?
Definitely I do definitely the ending scene.
Hmm.
A lot
Yeah.
of scenes that mainly take like are just kind of landscape.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a Western in that way.
It does, and how it captures like the wintry kind of season. As I thought this would still work for now because we're heading into the wintry season. You get a really big sense of winter in this film.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess that makes sense since, like you said, it's in Sweden.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do think the ending's really good. I think another one, you talked earlier about the cinematography. Like, I think the scene where, oh, what's her name? Virginia, um, is sick at the hospital and she asks for the blinds to be open and bursts into flames. I think that's a really
yeah,
cool scene.
yes, that's one of the best ones, and
Yeah.
I do like that subplot as well.
Yeah, yeah, that was interesting. Kind of reminds you a little bit of like I guess Lucy from or not Lucy, but Lucy's friend. Um or maybe it was Lucy, I can't remember. But in Dracula, the main female's friend that become is getting I guess consumed by Dracula every night and she's kind of like
Yeah,
slowly turning. Yeah, it kind of reminded me of that a little bit.
yes, yes, and I also like the old man who looks after Ellie.
Oh yeah, yeah. I feel like in the movie at least, I feel like he used to be like Oscar or something. Maybe he met Ellie as a child and grew up with him. But I read kind of a dark fact that in the book, it's more like he's a sex offender that may
Yeah,
have been, yeah.
I've heard that. I guess they couldn't really put
Yeah.
this in either movies because it would put people off.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's better and the character is more likable and you feel bad for him if you don't think he's like a criminal for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. What are some other scenes that you liked?
Oh, there's a really good scene. I like the opening scene.
Yeah, the opening scene is really good too. You're right. What about it do you like?
It really like sets up the story and
Mhm.
puts you in this world and environment and introduces you to these characters we're gonna love.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. What do you think about Oscar kind or not Oscar, Ellie kind of goading Oscar into, taking some vengeance out on some of those kids that were so mean?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good story. Get back at the bullies.
Yeah, and I feel like too it creates a little bit of a parallel. Like, at first Oscar is reluctant to help Ellie with, she needs to feed, but then it's almost like they kind of after a while sympathize with each other and relate to each other. They're both lonely, and they're both angry at certain people, so it's kind of like it makes sense.
Yes, definitely. And I that's the thing I like about this movie. I like their relationship and how he learns to still treat her as a human being just because she's a vampire.
Yeah, no, I agree. I even like the ending when they're on the train. I thought that was really an interesting way to end it.
Yeah, because when I first saw this, I thought the ending was going to be like she makes him a vampire.
Yeah, that's kind of what you would think. But it's almost like he's more like a familiar, you know? Like he's
Yeah,
enamored with her, but it almost feels like that's kind of like Renfield or something, or if you watch What We Do in the Shadows, like a gizmo.
yeah,
Kind of more of a he's in service to her, really.
yeah. No, I can see him growing up to be somebody like Renfield.
Yeah.
That would be a
What
good sequel if they ever did a sequel.
That's true. It would be interesting to see him like as an adult and still kind of doing the vampire's bidding. Well, what else do you want to talk about with this film? What else kind of
I
stood out
want to
to you?
talk about the two main actors, so they didn't
Okay.
act. It's they haven't really acted since this movie.
Oh, interesting. Do you think maybe it's because, I don't know, it's hard sometimes to make that transition from child actor to adult actor?
True, but if you look at the remake, Chloe Grace and
Oh, that's
Cody
true.
Smith McPhee have done really well for themselves in modern day.
That's true. But I kind of feel like these two actors feel more like real children to me, almost, you know?
Yeah, definitely, because they're not well-known child actors.
Yeah. So I
They're
kind
not.
of I kind of like that about it.
Yeah, and I thought the one that played obviously the old man was really good.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I
You
think
could
he,
tell.
yeah,
Mhm.
I think he has more acting experience than the kids, though.
Oh yeah, definitely. Have you seen a lot of other Swedish films?
I've seen The Seventh Seal.
Oh, nice. I can't remember if it was Swedish or Dutch, but there was a movie called Good Night Mommy, I think. I feel like that might have been Swedish. Let me look.
I also
Nope,
like
German. Go ahead.
I also like sort of Cries and Whispers.
Oh, nice.
Trying to think what other Swedish films I've seen. Oh, I loved the bloke who does what he did Triangle of Sadness last year. I like him.
Oh, nice. Okay. I
Yeah.
don't think I've seen that, but I heard a lot about it.
His other stuff's funnier. Triangle of Sadness
Oh,
was a bit of a Uh, you better off asking Justin about that. He loves that movie.
Oh, really? Okay. Will
Yeah.
do. What else about this film do you like? So you mentioned the two lead actors, you thought they were really good, and had good chemistry on screen. What else? What else did you like about it?
The story.
The story, yeah. No, I agree. I think it flows really well. It's compelling. It's
Yeah.
interesting for
And even
sure.
though it looks like it's going to feel like a slow burn, it's not.
I agree. I agree. The setting and the cinematography kind of make it seem like it's going to be a slow moving film, but you're right, it's
Yeah.
not. It's got a good pace to it for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Definitely. It reminds me of another favourite film of mine, Fargo, where they're out in the
Oh
snow and
yeah,
brilliant cinematography and that.
I agree, and it's interesting how the setting kind of affects the story, but not so directly. Like you almost think that the movie's going to be more about that, but it's not. It's more about being a vampire.
Yeah,
It,
yeah, because I thought they were going to explore other vampires in around Sweden as well, but they only really focus on Ellie and the old man.
Yeah. It kinda reminds me too of 30 Days of Night a little bit
Ooh,
too, since
I've
that's
not seen that
also
one.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's a vampire film that takes place in an Alaskan town, which is kinda interesting because of where it's located on the map, for a whole month, 30 days, there's no
Yeah,
nighttime, so you can imagine how that impacts vampires, so, yeah, you should see that, you'd probably like
yeah,
it.
definitely. Because my number one vampire film is very similar to this because that one was made in the 80s, set in the 80s, and focuses on a male falling in love with a woman vampire as one of the plot lines.
Oh, interesting. I don't think I've seen that.
It's called The Lost Boys.
Oh no, I have seen that. Okay. When you the way you described it for some reason, I didn't think about you said it was in the 80s, but I didn't think about it. I don't know why that didn't run to my mind quickly, but I have seen The Lost Boys, which is a good film. In fact, we covered it on this podcast one time too.
Oh, brilliant. I'll have to listen to that one.
Yeah, I didn't watch it until I was an adult. I kind of missed the boat on that. A lot of other people my age grew up with it and watched it a lot, but I had never seen it, so it was my first time.
I watched it one time in my teens and then completely forgot about the ending years later and had to rewatch it and now the ending won't get out of my head.
I think I kind of expected it to be about one thing, and then it was different than what I expected. I was really pleasantly surprised. I really liked it too.
Yeah.
What about that movie reminds you of this one? Just because there are vampires, or are there any key themes?
Vampires, 80s setting, and the romance between a human boy
Oh,
and a girl, and a girl vampire.
that's true. I guess at its core, it's very similar. I had never thought of it that way. That's interesting.
You know what just clicked to me looking at the Wikipedia page?
Cool.
It it was made the same year as the first Twilight film.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, around the time this was made, it did feel like there was a lot of vampire content.
Yeah, I'm starting to click now.
Yeah. Um, I think, growing up, I wasn't super into vampires, but I always really liked reading the book Dracula, and I really liked that film. That's probably one of my favorite vampire films. And I also really like what's it called? Interview with the Vampire, I think is a great film too.
Yes, that's another one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, I like the vampire lore, and I guess like a more recent vampire thing. It's not a movie, but I really liked was Midnight Mass. That was good on Netflix.
Ooh. I am also a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh yeah, man, that was huge in the 90s. Yeah,
So yes, I do love vampires.
yeah, that's cool. Do you like werewolves too, or is it mostly vampires?
I do like werewolves, but there's not enough werewolf movies.
That's true. There's not as much werewolf content. Very true. I don't know why, but actually today I was watching an episode of Black Mirror, and it was about a werewolf. I just finished it from the new season.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one. That's a good
Yeah.
episode.
I had put off I wasn't as into this season of Black Mirror, and so I kind of put off the last couple of episodes, and then they turned out to be really good. I actually really enjoyed them.
Yeah,
They were kind of more horror leaning than some of the other seasons.
definitely, definitely. No. Recently, I've been getting into horror films a lot.
Yeah, you started a whole podcast, it sounds like, around it.
Well, more of a film awards.
Oh, more of focusing on like kind of like the Facebook group.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, I got it. What renewed your interest in horror? What made you go down that
I
path?
got more into it in 2018. Well, I used to when I had the website Robbie's Reviews. I used to do like a theme month for October called Halloween. Hence where I get the
Mhm.
Halloween Pumpkin
Oh,
Awards
interesting. Yeah.
from. And I at the last time I did that, I started little Halloween awards, and once I did the group and started like doing all the old like 50s and 60s movies expanding wise, I thought, let's go back into the horror ones. We've not done the 2010s or 90s or the 2000s, so let's do the horror ones.
And why do you feel like horror kind of deserves its own, I guess, like award section? Do you feel like it doesn't get like as noticed as some by
It,
other award groups?
it doesn't get noticed as much, and also when you look at it, it's the most diverse genre there is.
I agree. I agree. I think sometimes people overlook it or they say things like, "Oh, I don't like horror movies." And it's kind of like, well, there's so many different genres within horror movies that it's like maybe you do like horror movies. You just haven't found the right one yet.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Um
definitely. Because I've been showing my friend loads of different horror films recently.
nice. So you're kind of both going on that journey together
Yeah,
a little bit. Nice.
but yes, Let the Right One In is probably my favorite from the 2000s horror wise.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, I would agree. It was definitely a big standout, and like you said before, there was the American remake, but you prefer this one, right?
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing the remake, but I don't know, I just felt like there wasn't a lot that needed to be retold about it. Like I thought the
not
Yeah.
only that, but they added stuff in that didn't need to be there, like the detective.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that's one problem that I have a lot of times when a foreign film is
Yeah.
remade. Well, a couple of things. I almost feel like we act sometimes like it when a movie's not in English that it has to be remade to enjoy it, which I disagree with.
No,
And yeah, and I just didn't really I think a lot was added to it that was better or,
yeah, like one
decent.
of my favorite films of last year was All Quiet on the Western Front, and that doesn't need an English version of it.
Oh, absolutely. I liked that movie too. It was dark, but it was just done really well.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But yes, I don't know whether I would put this in my top 5 or top 10
Mhm.
horror films, but it's definitely no, not horror films, international films. But it is one I would recommend to people who aren't familiar with international movies.
Yeah, I think it's a good one, for people to see if they're kind of thinking about trying to broaden their horizons for sure.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I think this is a well-directed film.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was, very well directed and, I just really enjoyed it, and it was fun to rewatch.
Yeah, sadly no Oscars, but it did get nominated for a BAFTA.
Yeah, I feel that a lot of times horror as a genre, as I mentioned earlier, is one that's kind of overlooked sometimes by the film community, so that's
Definitely,
honestly not surprising.
yes. I think this has won my Fleming Award for Best International Film as well.
Oh, nice.
I don't know many other international films from 2008.
Mhm. Agreed.
Yeah. You could probably tell me the name of the winner of the 2008 international film, and I probably have never heard of it.
Yeah, I feel like that happens kind of a lot.
It happens too much, in my opinion.
I agree. Well, was there more that we haven't covered about this film yet that you wanted to touch on?
No, I think that's about it.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a super complex film. It's got a 2-hour runtime, but it's a pretty succinct story, and probably the best way to experience it is to go ahead and watch it. Hopefully, we've piqued some interest by talking about it.
Definitely, definitely, because it also has a really good B plot as well as a good A plot.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, Robbie, thank you then. I guess I'll give you my last couple of questions I always give. If you had to summarize, why do you enjoy this movie so much?
I just think it's a nice tale that
Mhm,
has a bit of horror, a bit of coming of age, a bit of sadness, a bit of hope, a little bit
mhm.
of romance. I like the 80s setting. I love the whole snow and the screenplay, the directing, and Hoyt van Hoytema's beautiful cinematography makes this one worth the watch.
Agreed.
Yeah,
That was
definitely
really
a
good.
5-star rating for me.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's a very good pitch. Um, well, actually, that was going to be my next question. So, to expound on that a little bit, how would you pitch it to someone that hasn't seen it before?
Do you like if you like vampire films? Definitely check out Let the Right One In.
Yeah, I agree. It deserves to be up there as a list of the greats. And in fact, you have it at number two, so that makes sense.
Yeah,
All right. Well, Robbie, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and hope to have you back soon.
yes, yes. I will come back. I will come back. I might do an animated film next. As
Oh, that would be great.
yes, I do like animated films, and I feel like they're a bit overlooked as well as horror films.
100%. I really like when Guillermo del Toro talked about that, I think a year or two ago, just about how the animation deserves to be, seriously considered as an art form. And I completely agree.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.